Scope 3 thinks
this meeting is being live streamed. Got it.
It's all right. I think we are ready to go.
Hello, Facebook land.
Okay. Well, good afternoon. Welcome. Oops, I got to record real fast. I forgot to do that. Let me do this.
Yeah. Good call.
Record. Now we're ready. Okay. Good afternoon. Welcome to our Business 101 interview with our local small business expert. This will be a short monthly discussion that the Economic Alliance will be hosting to discuss topics such as how to start a small business lending, business formation, what is C Corp, S Corp, LLC, what does that all mean? We're going to talk about accounting for your business, social media marketing, and many more. These sessions will be short 5 to 10 question interviews that we hope will answer some of your most important need to know questions. We will also allow for time for questions at the end and encourage you to reach out to the Economic Alliance and or our industry experts to find out more about any topic you are interested in learning more about. Our past interviews can be found on the Economic Alliance Facebook page under videos. Today, we will be learning about social media best practices, and we are so excited to have Sheila Corson, Public Relations Coordinator and Communications Specialist, who will be sharing her wisdom and her experience working in several different capacities over the last few years. This interview will also give you a preview to our upcoming full-length workshop that will also be on the same topic next Thursday, February 9th from 5:30 to 7:30 at the Economic Alliance office. We'll also be having a hybrid option that will be available, but we encourage everybody that can to be here in person. Make sure that you get registered after this interview. I will post the link in the chat. Welcome, Sheila. Can you share a little bit about your background?
Absolutely. So for those who don't know me, well, I'm born and raised in Okanagan County, so chances are you know me or my husband's family or my family or somebody. So yes, I'm a local girl, and I actually graduated with my associate's degree here in WVC OMAC, where I'm now a professor, adjunct, teaching interpersonal communication. And I've got my bachelor's in journalism, wait somewhere else for that. And then this last year got my master's in communication from Purdue online. And so now I've been really getting into a lot more teaching, which is what I love doing. But, you know, in the meantime, in between all of these educational experiences, I've spent just about 20 years almost now,
Wow.
just learning and implementing all kinds of communication in its various forms. And that's been for public schools, for local nonprofits as a volunteer, and now for the utility district here in Okanagan. So social media manager is one of the many titles I have currently. So I figured I could share a little bit about that.
Well, thank you. It sounds like you have the background and the knowledge to help many of our local businesses who are looking to learn more about how to utilize social media to tell their story about their business and to market their new or existing businesses. Let's get started with the interview. Today, we're going to hear about some of the most common questions that Sheila has heard in her roles when working with businesses or working with other organizations that she's worked for. Now on to our first question. How does a business even start developing a social media strategy plan for their new or existing business?
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people out there, especially those who've been in business a long time and have done marketing in different ways. When you even think of getting on social media, the idea just itself is overwhelming, right? Like, how do I even start? What do I even do, right? So that's where I'm going to start with some folks. Some folks are already there, but then they're looking at all these other platforms and should I be on this one? And should I be doing this? And right, and it can get really overwhelming. So for me, I boil it down to basically 3 main questions. 1, who's your audience and what platform are they using, right? Because if your target audience is teenagers, your best option probably isn't Facebook. It might be Instagram instead, or some other platform, right? So who's your audience, who's your main audience, and where are they at? You got to go where they are. And then do you really actually have the time and resources to not just start a social media account, but to maintain it, right? And maintain doesn't mean daily. It doesn't mean all the things all the time, right? But do you really have the resources to start something new and maintain it? And then the third thing is what platform is actually going to work best for the goals of your business. So if you're a nonprofit and you're about education, that's a different thing than if you are a small business and you're online completely and you're trying to do sales, right? There's different platforms that are going to work better for you depending on what you're doing. And so when you kind of figure out those three questions, then you can start to develop your strategy, identify where you should be, how often, what to do, because there's not really a one size fits all approach to social media. There are some things that are the same across all platforms, but not across all businesses and goals. And that's actually a good thing that it's not all one size fits all, because you're not locked into anything. You can customize it to actually fit your audience's needs as well as your own.
Thank you. With all, and that kind of segues right into the next question that I had. With all the different platforms available now, I mean, every day it seems like a new one's popping up. It's like, geez, how can I do all of these? How do and technology, TikTok, doing videos, having to video myself, all these things. How would a business know which ones are the right ones for them?
Right. So I did Google this just recently, and it said, according to the Google, there's 128 different social media sites that you can be on right now. And there's like 4 billion people across the world who have some sort of social media presence, right? So thankfully, we don't need 128 to do our job. And we don't need to reach 4 billion people either, right? So just take a second, take a deep breath. It's all right. So take a deep breath. There's obviously certain social media platforms that are way more popular, way more used than other ones, right? So let's talk about some of the main ones to start with. And actually the most popular social media site is YouTube. And some people don't consider YouTube social media, but when you define social media, it's that two-way interaction between people. Like you can share your personality, you can share your culture, whatever. Okay, it's that sharing idea. So YouTube. That's the biggest one, right? But not every business is going to try to do sales on YouTube, right? So it's the biggest, but maybe it really doesn't fit what you need, right? Next biggest is probably what everybody thought I was going to say, which is Facebook. Hi, Facebook land. There's a lot of people on Facebook, right? And Facebook's, I don't know if you call it a sister platform, Instagram, is right behind Facebook in popularity, right? So there's some big ones that we talk about. And then as you talk about other ones, some people would think Twitter's bigger or Snapchat or whatever, depending on what area. And when I've been dealing with local experiences, local statistics for who's on what social media platform, that's when you really figure out where you should be better. So even though the national may say, here's the biggest thing, that's not necessarily what's best for Okanagan County, right? So drilling down and actually seeing who's there. Apparently for Facebook, like 70% of all adults in the US have Facebook. And I think that's probably pretty darn close to true in Okanagan County. That's where we get the most, and everything that I've done, whether it's been nonprofit or business of different forms, Facebook's been the big one, right? That's been the big one. So if you want to get where your audience is, it's probably going to be Facebook. But again, if you're reaching out to youth, they're not as much on Facebook. There are some there. But if that's part of your audience too, then maybe you need to wrap in some Instagram, right? Or maybe you just decide you want to stay on Instagram because a lot of the Facebook people have an Instagram too. So focus on one, right? You don't have to do both. And each platform also has like different recommendations for how frequently you post, what kind of posts are going to be more popular. And so when you kind of figure that out and work with that, schedule some things out, decide on what's going to work best. Again, what's sustainable for you? What do you actually have time to do? And then where your people are, what's meeting your goals. Once you get those things together, then you can set out a plan and get started with that. And even though there may be some other things that you're like, oh, I wish I should do this, or I could probably figure out this, don't start with all the things. Start with something simple, sustainable, on a platform that you know is going to be pretty good for you. And then once you feel comfortable there, you can step it up a notch somewhere else or some other way, right? And that's kind of where I think people need to start small and sustainable and build.
All right. Well, in regards to social media, especially when you're a small business and you always see when you're trying to post your ads, boost this post or buy this, or, add this to your post and you can access, so many more customers,
Right.
is it important? And boosting ads, is that important? How do they help your business? And do you have a platform that you would recommend that you can post to all platforms at once?
Okay. There's kind of two questions in there.
It is a two for you. I'm trying to be tricky, a little tricky here.
Okay, so first question, buying, boosting ads, whichever the terminology is, whichever platform you're on. Is it necessary? Well, no. I mean, the first thing is it's important that you're there. So people can find you if they're looking for you. You can interact with people. It's not absolutely necessary. However, I would say that you should budget a little bit. And I know everybody heard budget and go, right? I don't know how much you think of when you hear the word budget, but I'm even talking, $25, $50, and not every day, not every post. Oh my gosh, not every day, every post. But pick those big ones, those big sales of yours, and select a few things. Give yourself even just a few $100 a year to start with. Again, start simple and small and see how it goes. The idea is those posts do get a lot more traction when you throw some money behind them. And not only that, but the more people it reaches from that, the more people become aware of your presence. You might get more page followers from that. You might get more people to like the post and interact and share with their friends. And it's what we call an organic build. So you pay for it to get it started, but then people will interact with it and it'll organically grow from there. So I always do recommend some strategic boosting. And I think, again, even $25. Hopefully you've got that in the budget. But if you've got more, do a little bit more, right? Look at what you need to do. And as you go through, a lot of it is testing, right? It's, okay, what happens if I throw $50 at this? What kind of response do I get? See what is the most popular posts and keep going with those. So you don't have to pay, but I think that it will help you a whole lot in the long run if you plan at least a little bit funny. Second part of the question, a platform where it can kind of consolidate your efforts and you can do stuff all at once. If you're living in the metaverse, there is the business suite. And I highly recommend that anybody who is doing any kind of business account gets into the business suite, especially since that allows you to set up some other people to be able to post with certain permissions, things like that. Everybody can use the same information. You can plan things out together. You can pay for things. You can watch it. Everybody, it's nice. It's a slick platform. That's, of course, if you're using Facebook, Instagram. They also own WhatsApp. And you can also send ads out through them through Messenger as well, Facebook Messenger. So you can get actually kind of 4 platforms in one. Now, if you're venturing outside of the metaverse, if you want to throw in Twitter or Snapchat or whatever, it gets a little bit more difficult to consolidate. But there are programs out there, and I couldn't give you a price quote right now because it depends on the size of your business and all this kind of stuff. But there's some others. They're called, a couple of the ones I know of that are more popular are called Hootsuite, Sprout Social, and other things where basically you just link all your accounts into one place and you can work from there. Even Canva, if people are familiar with the graphic design program Canva, you can post to just about any social media accounts from there. The payment part gets a little bit trickier as to which platforms will allow you to pay and boost ads on multiple places at once. That gets a little trickier. But when it comes to management, there is a lot of different kinds of software opportunities out there that can help you if you feel like you need to have multiple accounts, but you got to save the time and not try to do something 4 times across all the channels. So there's tools out there.
Thank you. And that's great to know. I use Canva and I did not know that I could post to all of my social media stuff from there directly. So I'm learning new things. Thank you.
All right.
Sheila, what are some other marketing methods offered within our region that you see as successful, such as newspaper, radio, those other, I know that you have experience in that. Can you share a little bit more about the other marketing opportunities?
Sure. Yeah. Well, for some of you who know me, you know that I spent 5 years, almost to the day, actually, as a reporter at our local Chronicle newspaper. So, shout out to the newspapers out there. Again, when you talk about marketing strategies, you have to talk about like where my audience is, who they are, and where they spend their time, right? So if I'm trying to get to everybody, like I do right now with the utility district, I'm pretty much trying to get to everybody, then I need to also make sure that I'm in some more traditional media, is what we refer to them as. So yes, there's absolutely a place and time to use traditional newspaper ads. But one thing that's cool about our local news and radio too is not only do they have the traditional methods, but a lot of them also offer some digital options. So when I talk about boosting a post on my page, I can actually talk to one of my local newspapers and say, can you boost it on your page and pay for advertising that way? Then I get their reach and their following, their audience. And that's a few thousand more at least than what I've normally got. So it's an advantage for me. Some of the other local or regional newspapers offer some other digital marketing options as well. So they're not just a print ad in the newspaper, although that may be what you want to do. And it can be well worth it. But there's even more than that, same radio and news, all of them. So if you're not sure, reach out to your local, whichever it is, radio, newspaper, or whatever, and see what they have available, because they might have some solutions that'll help you and stay within your budget. There's that word again. So yes, definitely do that. Again, I try to get to everybody in my market. So I've done mailers, and you can do things like a postcard. If you're just, say, serving the Omak, Okanagan area, or you're Oroville or whatever, it may be an interesting thing to look in and see what it would cost you to send a postcard out to everybody in that zip code. Maybe it's something that may be well worth it, especially if you got a big sale or a big event or something coming up, right? So that is an option for anybody. One of the ones that I think everybody has seen, but few people think of it as using it, is like some of the before the movie ads. In a lot of theaters all over the place, including our one here in Omak. You can get a before the movie ad. I believe they charge by the month. At least last time I put one in, they did. There's something that's kind of like out of the ordinary that you might be able to take advantage of. Gosh, what else is there? There's all kinds of stuff. There's some really cool new tech out there that can help you reach people that maybe normally wouldn't. If anybody's heard of geofencing, I don't know what it sounds like, but it's geographical. You draw a fence around a certain area, right? And all the mobile devices in that area, if I'm playing my, words with friends and an ad pops up, or if I'm checking and scrolling on Instagram and an ad pops up, a geofence will send ads to people's devices, whatever they happen to be doing, that makes sense. So as they're interacting with their apps, then this geofence says, oh, hey, here's something going on in your area, right? So here's a cool fundraiser, or here's a big sale, or whatever. Geofencing can be really cool. It can be expensive too, but depends on what you got.
Something I noticed recently, just with like Sirius satellite, or if you're listening to a podcast, it pulls in local ads, and I'm just like, how did they get this ad? This is a podcast from Indiana. How did that connection? How did they make that connection? But it's the geofencing and tying into that. So this is all great information, and there's a lot of exciting things. that businesses can do and resources that are out there and available. One of the things that we noticed during COVID and dealing with a lot of the businesses that we work with is many of our business, because of the wide scope of, age ranges that we have of people in business and the locations, Okanagan County, largest county in the state of Washington, many of our businesses, and the diversity did not even have email addresses, much less, having social media. I mean, they did not have access to those. And so it's so important to find out, all of these different ways in which we can connect with our clientele or our customer base, because not everybody has bought into social media or even having a smartphone, yet. So, we still need to make sure that we're reaching the audience and getting the word out about products and services that we offer. So, thank you for providing us with all that information, because that's really important for businesses to know.
Yeah.
So
There's
my next question. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Ron. I just agreed with you.
Oh, good. Thank you. So we see a lot of businesses who are owner operated, and they have very minimal time to focus on marketing. Do you have any tips, tricks, strategies that you can offer these businesses on the first steps, what they need to do to bring awareness to their business, utilizing, social media that isn't overwhelming? I mean, I've sat down with numerous people and they're just like, can't I just hire somebody to do this? And it's like, well, even if you hire somebody, you still have to get them content. So, is there things that you can suggest?
Right. Yeah, and different people are going to do it differently. So if I say, you need to start a Facebook page, right? That's not going to look the same for every single outfit, right? So we have all kinds of small businesses. Some of them are, no employees to a handful to a ton of employees, right? So again, it goes back to what I said before, start small and sustainable, right? So if you can't post every single day what's on the menu or, what happens to be in your shelves, if you can post once a week, every Monday or every Tuesday, you post what's going on that week, right? One post a week. Probably sustainable for most folks, right? Or if it's really overwhelming and you happen to have a couple staff members, there's probably one of your staff members is on social media and could help kind of get that started and do that with you, right? You check in on Monday morning, whatever it is, and say, hey, what should we do this week? Oh, I'm going to take a picture of this particular item we've got, or this schedule, or this menu, and I'm going to share it out there, right? Start that small and sustainable. And then maybe then you just say, okay, well, so she said I should post and boost something every once in a while. Okay, boost something once a month and see what happens. We don't have to go nuts with it. You really don't have to go nuts with it. And I think that's kind of that's what one of the myths, I guess, of social media is that daily is best or as much as possible, right? No, heavens no. It's very strategic and it's consistent. It's about being consistent. So if everybody knows that you're going to post about your weekend sales on Fridays, they know to watch for your post on Fridays, like that's the more important ticket is, can you do something small and consistent? It does, and don't worry about all the other things that you could do. And we should be on Twitter. Maybe you shouldn't. Maybe just say no.
Yeah.
Just because somebody suggests it doesn't mean you should. I would suggest that you get on at least one platform just to have a presence, just so people can find you and see who you are and what you offer. But again, once you're there, and you share what you can, when you can, and what works with your schedule.
I know one of the topics that you're going to get into in the full workshop, but I just wanted to bring this up because I have businesses who have experience and who have in the past have told me, well, I don't want to get on Facebook because, people, all they do is they get on social media and they get on there to complain. It's never anything positive. It's all about, everything that everybody does bad. And, they can hide behind their computer and say all this stuff. But, so as a business person, is that something that I should focus on, or is that something that, how would I deal with those types of things if that happens?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is relationships are risky, right? So if you're going to get on social media, all of a sudden you're kind of changing your relationship with the public, right? And you're opening yourself up to the possibility of a troll stepping across the bridge, right? So the thing is, I am always on social media, right? So because I'm always on social media, that means I could always end up being beaten by somebody verbally. And it's happened, I've had people say some nasty, horrible things to me over the last several years that I've been a social media manager. And that's just the reality of the world in which we live. I don't like to let the trolls decide my fate, and I don't like to give up my space to the negative people out there. And the reality is, if you're on social media, it's going to happen to you at some point. But one of the things I remind people is to do the math. How many people do you follow? How many comments do you have? How many reactions do you have? And how many of those are negative? Probably 1 in 10,000, if that many, right? And especially when you're a small business or you're a nonprofit, yeah, somebody's going to be having a bad day and going to have some bad comment or snarky thing to say. Okay, it actually gives you an opportunity to respond if necessary. We'll talk about, I have a flow chart of when to respond and how. But yeah, we'll talk about it. It can be an opportunity sometimes to respond kindly to a question or a complaint. And actually show your character, show the kind of business you run, and actually impress somebody that, oh, they actually care about me. I was having a bad day or I had a bad experience, but now I'm receiving this kindness back, I'm receiving this help back. And it's actually can be an opportunity to build even better relationships when some people step in. Now, there are some people who just want to make a mess of things and don't actually care about being helped or their problem being solved. But again, it's an opportunity sometimes, and sometimes you just move on.
Yeah, I've had plenty of conversations with businesses about that, and it's like, did your phone stop ringing? Are people walking in your business?
That's right.
This is your
do
business
the math.
has not exactly. And so now we're to our final question, and we do have a couple questions from the audience. So I'll ask the final question, and then we'll get into additional questions. Can you share with us what are some of the strategies that small businesses should use to ensure that they have a successful social media campaign? I know you've talked about a lot, but just
so here's the summary. Summary number 1 is the be consistent piece, right? Set yourself a goal that you can keep up with. If you can keep up with 3 posts a week, cool. If you can't, do 1, set a goal that can be consistent. So if people are expecting you to do something like, oh, I'm going to go with this Throwback Thursday theme, or I'm going to, again, post my weekend sales on Fridays, stick with it as much as you can. Stick with it. Be consistent. That's number 1. Number 2 is be human. It is social media, right? Have a voice, have some personality, have some humor. Be careful with your humor, but have some. And you know what? There's this law in social media of puppies and babies. Share some pictures of puppies and kitties and babies. People love that stuff. They'll eat it up. Be personal, be human, be a real person, right? People don't follow you on social media because they think you're a bot. If they think you're a bot, they don't follow you on social media, right? So be consistent, be human. And number 3 is actually think of your customer first. Okay, it's not just, I have a sale, I want to advertise it. it's super cold out there, and people are going to want these scarves and gloves and hats that I have for sale. So here's the need you guys have, and here's how I can meet your need, right? It's thinking about how you're fulfilling your customer or client's needs. That's the top three. So I mean, this kind of takes away most of my zingers for Thursday's workshop, but be consistent, be human, and think of the customer first.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be a part of our Business 101 interview with the experts to share this very important information on social media to our local businesses. I'm going to take a few seconds to ask a couple questions that we have. One is from Vera. Vera, hi Vera.
Hi Vera.
Nice to see you. Who do we contact, and how do we go about finding information about geocaching? Geofencing. Fencing, not caching. Sorry.
Geofencing. There are a few different outfits who do some geofencing type stuff, and I can look into that a little bit more. There are a few options. I think they're more regional, and I want to say that there's I think even within some of the local newspaper companies, the ones that are kind of owned by a larger company, it's a conglomerate type of thing, that they have some options for some of that digital geofencing type thing. I mean, there's some of that geofencing is all the way into, like, you can get on Hulu ads, and you can get like, YouTube and stuff. So it kind of depends on how you want to do it. But yeah, there's actually several companies. There's some that are more state-based or regional based. So there's some options out there, and I can share some of those. I couldn't recommend anybody just because I haven't used anybody locally before, but I can dig in some more information for you on that, Vera.
Awesome. And then she had another question of how often is too often to post about your event?
It's a great question, because there's a balance between making sure people remember this thing is coming up and annoying the heck out of people because that's all they ever see. Right? So
unless you're on a really short timeline.
Yes, ideally, you thought this ahead. So when I thought things ahead, and I've gotten enough notice, what I'm going to do is I'm going to post some sort of save the date teaser kind of thing anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks before an event, so that they can find the information if it's there. They can make plans if it's a big thing like a concert or a play or a huge sale and people want to not leave town, right? 4 to 6 weeks before the event, I'm going to post something, but I'm not going to post daily at that point. At that point, a couple weeks later, I'm going to get real excited about it. A week or two later, I'm going to get excited about it. I've got another post. Then it's going to be, I might boost that post or something like that. Leading up to the event, basically, I'm going to do it more frequently, but my post isn't going to be the exact same thing. So before a big event, let's see, the event is Saturday, and I'm now on Monday. I'm probably going to post Tuesday. I'm probably going to post Thursday. And then I might even post Friday. And then on Saturday, I'm going to take a picture from the event and say, get here. Right? Yeah. But I'm not going to post 3 or 4 times a week, the week before and the week before that and the week before that. But I am going to do at least 2 reminders leading up to the event, and then something the day of every time. And something in there is going to be boosted, the week before or something too, so that it's running and people are seeing it. But yeah, it doesn't actually help to post about it every single day leading up to it. It doesn't help that much, because it's already running in a sense. And then you've got 2, 3 posts and people are commenting on that one and this one over here and sharing, it actually can confuse people a bit. The week before, I'll probably post 2 or 3 times about it, but not too much more than that weeks before.
And then Joel had some good tip on measuring the reach of posts and repeating success. And he also said hi. So that was the info back.
I'm a huge fan of Joel. He's apparently a huge fan of mine too. So that means a lot to me. But yes, that's the thing, is as you get out there and you start posting, you don't really know what's going to do the greatest, right? But as you watch each one, and we'll talk a little bit about analytics, but as you watch each one and how it does and what people really react to and how many people share it, like, oh, people really love it when I share pictures of puppies. I'm going to do this on a more regular basis. Not every post, again, don't overwhelm them, don't get old, but there's going to be certain trends you're going to see that people are going to like. And so you can build off of that, right?
Look at the goat that WSP has used for all of their advertising that has just exploded across, not the Washington State Patrol, it's the DOT. Where they pop.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely amazing. And that was just by bringing in a goat, and it's like, a goat outside and going over the pass, and he's saying that, this is what the traffic looks like today or whatever, it just, it's amazing how bringing in animals, people relate to cute, fuzzy, and cuddly. I don't know if my daughter would be cuddling the goat. I probably wouldn't be. Cat, dog, maybe, but not the goat.
Yeah, if you want to battle the negative stuff on Facebook, put more puppies on it, like more cute and fuzzy. Fight the battle.
Well, thank you again, Sheila. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience about the upcoming program that we're going to have? Or, I guess I skipped a question, which was, you're going to be hosting a more in-depth training on this topic on the 9th. As I mentioned in the intro, can you share a little bit more about what you will be diving into, and what would a business get out of attending? And then add after that, what else you want to give the audience today? We're a little off topic, but
they kind of relate though. So definitely, if anybody wants to come out, we'll be doing some more beginner type stuff, but we can do more in depth as well. It's really going to be the idea of what platform or platforms should I use and why? And once I've selected that, and we are going to write this down, we're doing workshopping, okay? Once I've selected that, what are the best ways to get engagement on those posts or videos or whatever I happen to do? What are the best ways to make sure those are going to be more successful? And then what happens when the trolls show up, right? So it's kind of a three-part thing. I'm going to give you some really practical and proven practices to get you where you want to be. And the main thing that I want to remind people is it doesn't really matter whether or not you've done this before or not. There's a lot of people who still haven't done this very much. You can keep it simple enough that really anybody can do some social media. It can get complicated, like you can get stuck in the weeds, but you can stay simple and you can still be effective at doing very simple, very manageable types of things. And I've got a really fancy, flashy handout for everybody to take back with them. And we can actually leave the workshop. My goal is everybody leaves the workshop with a very solid, reasonable goal for what they want to do to either start a social media presence or kind of maybe upgrade what they're doing right now.
All right, well, thank you. And thank you to the people who are on Facebook Live and have been with us since we started this at 1:30. This has been a great interview, and I think that there was a lot of very valuable information that Sheila shared with us today. So thank you again. And I just wanted to finish up by saying that the Economic Alliance has a lot of resources for anybody who is interested in starting a business, anybody who is in business and might be looking at expanding or are needing some information or needing some assistance with your doing a financial analysis, putting together budgets, coming up with marketing strategies. We do have a small business advisor through the SBDC, and that is Lou Blakeney. And we offer free confidential small business assistance. So that is something that if you're interested in scheduling an appointment, you can contact us at 509-826-5107 and schedule an appointment through Carolyn. She does all of Lou's appointments for him. And then I just wanted to share briefly that we do have some upcoming workshops. Our first one that's in this next series of seminars that we're doing is Sheila's social media best practices, again, next Thursday from 5:30 to 7:30 here at the Economic Alliance office. Registration is, the link is in the chat portion of on Facebook Live. If you don't have that, then you can go ahead and contact us again and register over the phone. But after that, we have February 16th, we're going to do an L&I updates for the construction industry. And that will be a webinar from 1:30 to 3:30 on the 16th. On the February 23rd, we're doing a seminar on access to capital for small businesses, and they'll do a deep dive into preparing your application, understanding your credit, understanding what business credit means, and knowing whether or not you're ready to take that step into doing your application. Really important, as well as what other resources are available rather than just the traditional lending institutions like your local banks. On March 9th, we'll have effective communication with employees and customers, and that will be with Sheila again. And so we'll be doing another interview before that meeting to do a little preview, doing Facebook Live. And that will be the 9th from 5:30 to 7:30 again here at the Economic Alliance office with a hybrid option. March 14th, we'll be doing a youth work regulations and resources event. A lot of businesses that we work with are interested in hiring youth, but they don't know what the regulations are, all of the rules that go along with hiring youth. So we're going to have L&I, and then we're also going to have WorkSource with us to talk about the different programs and rules that are linked to hiring youth. And that'll be the 14th webinar from 2 to 3:30. March 30th, we'll be having another training on the creative economy, establishing creative districts and programs for artists and other small business in the creative industry. And that'll be a webinar from 9 to 11. And we've got more. There's more training, and we'll just keep on rolling this out for you as we move forward. But we also, again, SBDC, we also have our clearinghouse for L&I information, for flyers, all of the information, books that you need that are required. Any new updates, let us know, and we can make sure that we get that information to you. And then we also have equipment. We have a meeting space up to 10 people with all the Zoom equipment, everything that somebody might need if you're a business and you need a space to meet, to hold a event. We have that here available at our office, as well as equipment that was funded through the USDA to help small businesses. Tying back into social media, you have to have technology. So we have a drone, we have photography equipment, we have video equipment, we have microphones if you want to do your own podcast. We have all of these things that are available to small businesses to check out. And we can help you learn how to use them so that you can take those professional pictures. The big thing is, during COVID, many of our businesses did not have that online platform. So they didn't have a way to sell their products. If they were a retail shop, they didn't have that marketplace. So we want to make sure that if a business is interested, that they have the ability to do that, and that they're able to take the professional pictures and those types of things that are needed in order to best highlight your products and services. So that is it for me. That was a lot. And I know I recognized like 3/4 of the way through the interview that I didn't even introduce myself. I'm Ronnie Holder-Diefenbach, the Executive Director for the Economic Alliance. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a call, 509-826-5107. Thank you, Sheila.
Thanks, Ronnie.
Thank you for Facebook Land for participating.
Yep. See y'all next week.
Yay.
All right. Bye, Facebook Land.